Hello. Thank you so much for joining me today for Reset Not Resolutions. We've got a few more people that are trickling in, but we'll go ahead and get it started because I want to be mindful of your time. Today, we're just doing a 30-minute workshop about setting goals and, looking at resolutions a little bit differently in 2026. I really want you to come into this year focused on growth, having that clarity, and really finding your purpose for this year. So, we'll start off by a quick introduction. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Megan Woolerton. I am the owner of Life Force Wellness, and I hold several certifications as a personal trainer, a health coach, nutrition coach. I work with corporations on their health and wellness. So, I work as a corporate wellness specialist. I'm also certified in positive psychology and stress management, sleep, and recovery. So, as you can see, I've kind of covered the whole gambit of health and wellness, but I'll be honest that I didn't always work in health and wellness to get started. So, don't think that I've just been fully inundated in the wellness arena and am kind of out of touch with what really happens because I know that does occur with some coaches, some people I've worked with. They've always been in health and fitness. They've never worked a real 9 to 5 job and they don't understand what it really takes to find that balance in their life. Prior to getting into health and wellness, I actually worked in the oil and gas field industry. And so that was on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I was working 60 to 100 hours a week and it was grueling. And after burning out, I got into health and wellness. And so, knowing maybe a little bit of what you're going through with trying to balance a career and a family and your own health and well being can seem overwhelming. I want to give you some tools and things that I have learned that have helped me. And specifically, I thought this was a good thing to discuss as we go into the new year because I feel like 2026, new year, we get into that New Year's resolutions conversation. And I don't know about you, but I feel like when I think of New Year's resolutions, there's a lot of pressure that maybe you were somebody that starting 2025, you had this vision in your head on how your life was going to be fully transformed. You were going to transform your health or your career or the way your family did things. And now you're sitting here in 2026 and you're going, yeah, my life doesn't look any of the way that I had envisioned and hoped. And it almost puts this pressure on you. It creates this all or nothing mentality. It's like a pass or fail kind of grade. And resolution shouldn't be that pressure. It shouldn't be that desire to either have that pass or fail kind of grade. They should really just be there to give you some direction for where you want the next year to go. And so I want you to use the New Year's resolution as a tool to reflect on your past lessons. What is it that you learned? What habits did you create that you can carry into the new year? Where do you feel like you do need to course correct? And how do we move forward into 2026 with clearer intentions and vision with this new information? So use it as more of a place to kind of set your direction, not necessarily some big transformative goal that you're going to grade yourself at the end of this year on. The other thing with resolutions is they should really help us to clarify our values and what we are going to prioritize this year. Life happens. We've all been there. You may have set this big goal to lose weight or to do better at the gym or to hit some kind of professional goal. And then you got pregnant and you had a baby this year, or your parent passed away, or maybe your partner, you experienced some kind of loss. Maybe something happened at the company you were working at and you've had to change careers. You got laid off, you got demoted, something occurred, and that just rocked you. And now you're completely off the course that you thought you would be on. A lot of times, we're not ready to handle those setbacks, especially when we set these really audacious goals and we have this transformation story in our head. And so instead, rather than thinking about just that goal and being kind of singularly focused on the transformation, what I'd like us to do is really focus on the values that we have. And then as we make decisions, as things pop up throughout the year, how do we look at the values and our priorities in alignment with those so we can make better decisions to move us towards those goals? Also, it's easier to navigate your year when you have a roadmap. There's a lot of us that will sit there and say, "Oh, I like to be a little more free. I'm a little bit more of a free spirit. I like to just see where like I go, where I land. I'm going to, try this and try that." And that's fine. I'm all for flexibility. I want you to feel like you have flexibility. I don't want you to feel like you're put in a box. But brain science says we have this thing in our brain known as the basal ganglia, and it likes routines and it likes patterns. It likes some kind of level of certainty in our day. And so, setting some kind of foundation, some kind of plan, and then having a backup plan B, C, and D is also going to help us as we get to those setbacks, because we can go back and go, okay, I planned for this. I knew this might come up. I'm ready to go with it. And that's going to help to reduce some stress and some friction. So I want you to create some kind of foundational plan to move you forward. Now, when we look at our year, a lot of times we get into this mentality, and I see it on social media of, I'm just so thankful for 2025 to be over. 2025 was such a hard year. I'm just glad it's over. I'm ready for a fresh start. We have a very strong negativity bias, and I would encourage you to try to flip that script. I want you to really spend some time and think about what went well in 2025. Like, even though you may be giving yourself a pass fail grade based on where you're sitting right now, there were some wins. What were those wins? What went well? This is going to also help you in the future because it activates what's known as the reticular activating system. Sounds complicated. We've all experienced it. An example: in June, I was driving home from a client's house and my Jeep Patriot, which I loved, spontaneously caught on fire. I pulled into the driveway. Luckily, my husband was there with a garden hose and 911. Electrical fire had broken out in my deep in my engine. Fire trucks were here. The kids thought it was a great time. Me, not so much. And now here I am in June. I had these certain financial goals of things I was saving up for. And now I'm sitting here looking at, I need to buy a new car. Now, when I went shopping for a new car, I had some ideas of what I wanted. I had an old Santa Fe that I loved, Hyundai Santa Fe. And so we went to the dealership. We looked at a couple of used ones, and I didn't like the new body style. And there sitting next to it was a Hyundai Tucson. And that's what I ended up going with. So now I'm driving a newer Hyundai Tucson around. I never paid attention to them before, but you want to know what I see on the road everywhere now? Hyundai Tucsons. And after this webinar, when you go to the store, you're going to notice them too, because now your brain is looking for them. This is why gratitude practice also works. When you train your brain to look for the wins, to look for the things that you're grateful for, then your brain gets wired to look for more wins and more things to be grateful for. So I really want you to spend some time later today just reflecting on what went well in 2025. And then ask yourself, what challenged you? What stretched you? What was something that came up, some kind of setback, something you had to overcome, and how did you handle it? And then ask yourself, if that happens again, what did I learn? I mean, maybe it was just something simple like at your house, you had a plumbing issue and you used this plumber and they were a terrible decision. And now you know next time I'm going to call that other plumber, or I know how to fix this issue in the future. Should that challenge arise again this year, I'm prepared. And that's what I want you to be thinking about. What are the challenges I had? And what did I learn from those challenges? And specifically, then ask yourself, what did you learn about yourself? Maybe this was the year you decided to run a marathon and you realized you can be a runner. Maybe this was the year, you had good test results at the doctor, or you got that promotion, or you stepped up and you finished a project, or you took on something at your kid's school. What was something that you learned about yourself as you stepped up and you took on new roles and changed in 2025? Spend a little bit of time in reflection, because that's also going to help you to clarify what you want to focus on into the next year. What are you going to carry into this year with you? Then I want you, after you've done that reflection, to pick your top 3 values for the year. I would say you could do 3 to 5. I would not do more than 5 or else it gets a little sticky. Three's a nice number. So that's what I stuck with. What are the 3 things that matter to you most that you want to focus on the most this year? So for me personally, it's relationship connection. I want to reconnect, spend more time with my family, my friends, having just that deep connection time, more game nights with my friends at the house, times to kick back. Spirituality for me, I am a Christian. I am a Christian author. One of the things I want to do is tap in, spending more time in Bible study, reading scripture, growing in my faith, and then my health. I'm turning 40 this year and I want to have a fit 40. So, I want to maybe run the EQT 10 miler in November. I want to see that I can do it without that ankle pain I had last time. So, I've set some health goals for myself. But these are the 3 things that I'm really focused on that I value this year. When you set those values, then I want you to set up questions. So, this was a really interesting trick that I learned from John Berardi. He's the founder of Precision Nutrition, who started the whole nutrition coaching and the stress management coaching certification I got. In his book, he had 3 values. And I think his was his family, his health, and then he had his business as one of his things that he really valued and was focused on that year. And he posed a question for each one. So, for like family and friends, the question is when he was looking at making a decision, is this bringing me into deeper relationship with my friends and family? For business, is this moving my business and growing it in the direction I want to grow? And then for his health, is this helping me be the best version of myself physically that I can be? So he would have things pop up where he'd have to make big decisions. So one of the examples he gave is he got this tremendous opportunity to present to like 2,000 people in Greece. So here it's a business trip to Greece, all expenses paid for. Who wouldn't want to go to Greece? But he sat back and he posed the questions. Is this going to grow me in deeper relationship with my family? And he's like, no. Like, I've got a 2-year old. I'm not bringing them on the plane with me to Greece. So this means time away from my family. Is this helping me with my health? No. My routine's going to be off. I'm going to be jet lagged. The conference food isn't the healthiest. I'm not going to have time to do my normal routine. It's going to take a toll on me a little bit physically with the jet lag and everything. So it's not really helping my health. And then he got to business. Is this going to help my business grow? And he said, yes. However, the same week he would have to travel to Greece, they were also about to do a massive product launch. And they had about 50,000 people signed up for this product launch. And so then he had to ask himself, which is better for growing my business in the direction I want to take it? Going and speaking in front of 2,000 people in Greece, or being here to make sure that this product launch goes off flawlessly? Obviously, product launch was the way to go. That was growing his business in the right way. And he had to say no to the trip to Greece. And I think a lot of us, if we were honest, we would have gone, yeah. How often do I get an all expenses paid trip to Greece? I've never been there. I'd love to go there. Most of us would jump on that and say yes. And then later we'd be jet lagged and tired and stressed out, especially if we had a big project like a new product launch going on. We're stressed because we're not there and hiccups happen and I'm not there to help fix it or direct the team. And it would have caused more stress than it actually assisted. And so him being able to have those questions that put it up against his values helped him to make better decisions, to de-stress less, and make sure that the decisions he were making were in alignment with his values and the way he wanted to go with his goals. So I have found this to be immensely helpful, is that I find my 3 goals, my 3 values, what am I going to focus on? And then ask that question. Is this moving me into deeper connection with my friends and family? Is this growing my spiritual faith? Is this helping me to perform at my best physical ability? If the answer is no, then I'm not making that decision. I'm not going on that trip. I'm not going out with that group. I'm not doing that thing. But that's why it's very important that you have those values defined so that you can create those questions. Now, if you're sitting there and you're going, I have no idea where I should be focus this year, we've got a tool for you that we're going to talk about. But before we dive into the tools and how do I set the goals, I want to put mindset into perspective because as we look at where we need to be focused, we need to make sure we're not being influenced by one of these mindset traps. So, if you've read my book or been to any of my other seminars, you may have heard this. So, we'll go through it kind of quickly here. There's four main mindset traps that pull us out of balance, that cause us to kind of veer off the path. And that's what, we get that shiny object syndrome and we start doing things that aren't in alignment with the goals that we may have for this year. And I want you to be aware of them so that you can have a game plan as you develop your backup plans against them. First and foremost is incongruence. This is when our beliefs don't match our actions. So I see this frequently with my clients, and that they'll say things like, "Oh, I wish I had more time to hang out with my friends." But then when their friends call them up, they go, "Nah, I'm going to stay here and watch Netflix." What's going on? Like, do you want to hang out with your friends or do you want to stay at home and watch Netflix? Like, what do you want to do? Or they complain about their job and how, like, they'd like to have the manager's role. Well, then it opens up, but they don't submit an application or apply themselves to that job. What's going on there? This could be some form of like just lack of confidence or imposter syndrome. This could be not with the right group. You might be realizing that that goal you thought you had wasn't actually in alignment with your values. It's not something that's that important to you. There are other things more important to you. So, setting those values is going to help keep you in congruence with your goals. The next is public stigmas. So, public stigmas is when you feel like you have to do something because others expect it of you. Like, I have to, be my kid's soccer coach because it's what the other parents expect of me or what my kids expected of me. I have to host the family dinner because it's what my family expects of me. You're not doing it because you want to or because it's in alignment with your values. You're doing it basically because of peer pressure. And so this is where we need to learn to set healthy boundaries. Internal stigmas is I feel like I have to do this because if not, I personally will feel like a failure. So an example for this one is my kids having a bake sale at school. Nobody cares if I go to the store, buy Chips Ahoy, put them on a plate, and send them to the school. As long as there are chocolate chip cookies to sell and make money, everyone's happy. But I personally feel like a bad mom if I don't make them at home from scratch with all organic ingredients. Realistically, I'm running three different businesses. I have two small children. I don't have time to make cookies from scratch, okay? Chips Ahoy will have to do. But we sometimes get in our head and we guilt trip ourselves that we're not doing more. We're not good enough parents. We're not good enough partners. We're not a good enough friend. We're not a good enough employee. And that's that whole I'm not good enough starts to plague us. And so just taking a step back and really viewing what matters to you, where are you going to put your energy and focus, and what's realistic for you based on where you are right now. And the last mindset trap is when we have ambiguity. This is when there's no clear goal and objective. So picture you're running a marathon, the gun goes off, you're running, it's awful, running's awful, and there's no mile markers and there's no finish line. And eventually you just collapse from sheer exhaustion and you feel like you didn't accomplish anything. You have to set mile markers. You have to draw a line in the sand. You have to clearly define this is when I know I'm done. This is the definition of success. This is how I know I'm finished. This is how I know I accomplished something. And you need to celebrate those wins. Otherwise, that negativity bias creeps in and you just start to get those feelings of failure. And we don't want that. So it's very important to have that structure, to set some goals, to place some mile markers along the way to get you there so you can celebrate those wins. If you are not sure when I speak about life balance, what do I mean by that? Like what all do I have to have balance? A lot of times we think work-life balance, spending time at work versus spending time at home. I present it based on 7 areas of well-being. And so as you're setting goals, if you're trying to think of some areas in your life that you want to improve, these are 7 different areas that you can kind of focus on. So the first is your existential or your purpose. So for me, this might be my religious beliefs, my purpose for being here. For you, it could just be that question of what drives you to get out of bed in the morning. Like, what's your purpose for getting up each day, putting on your shoes, and going to work and doing the things that you're doing? What is driving you? What is that sense of purpose you have? Really digging into that and exploring that deeper. Mental wellness is more about cognitive functioning, feeling alert and focused, competent. You're able to learn new things. You're able to remember things well, like where did you put your keys or your cell phone? Do you remember those things? Or do you have a lot of brain fog? Is your mental clarity something you want to focus on this year? Your environmental wellness is what around you supporting you. Meaning, if your goal is weight loss, the treadmill doesn't have clothes piled on it and you have healthy snacks in the kitchen. You want a calm workspace so you can be more productive in the office. You want to have the right tools available to you and that space that you can retreat to when you need to unwind and decompress. Relational wellness is feeling that authentic connection. The way Brene Brown puts it is the opposite of belonging is fitting in. And so ask yourself when you're around your friends or your family or those that you spend a lot of time with, do you honestly feel a sense of belonging or do you feel like you're just trying to fit in? And that might guide you on to maybe some relationship goals. Your emotional wellness is being able to feel the full range of emotions. It is fine to be angry, anxious, upset, disappointed, depressed, but we don't want to be stuck there. You should mainly feel calm, hopeful, and positive, and you should feel the full spectrum of emotions throughout the year. Physical wellness is pretty obvious. You know, you're healthy, you're thriving, you're free of disease or ailments, you can move without pain, you feel energized. And financial wellness, a lot of us live paycheck to paycheck. We want that financial stability. Do you want to set some financial goals this year? Maybe a savings account or, save up for a trip or have that emergency fund in case your car decides to catch fire this year, which I don't recommend. I'm really hoping that doesn't happen. If you're not sure which area you should be focusing on, I said we have an assessment. You can scan this QR code. I'll leave it up here for just a couple seconds longer. You can take our assessment and it will give you this little life wheel and it will tell you which areas maybe need more focus. So it's very common in my coaching practice that I might see people that have a really high financial score and a really high purpose score because they've been focused on their career, their finances are great, but their relationships are terrible because they're spending all their time at work, they've disconnected from friends and family, or their physical health is really lacking. And so this will give you a nice little picture of maybe where you want to set some goals. It will also give you a picture on what have you been valuing. It gives you that screenshot of, okay, I've really valued my career and my financial health lately. Is that really where I want to be putting all my time and energy? It gives you that chance to kind of reflect, is this the path you want to continue on? And then you can set some goals around where you're scoring, and we'll give you some tips whenever you take that quiz as well. When you get your scores and you start setting goals, set some SMART goals. Now, I am not going into SMART goals. I think you've all heard SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. We kind of know what those are. This is not a webinar for that. I want to give you some new tips and tricks like getting those values, asking those questions. I also want you to list out some specific goals. It is okay to have some daily goals. I think daily goals like step goals or drink so much water in a day goals are fine. I would really push you and hesitate to set too many daily goals because it's very easy for a day to get derailed and then you feel like you failed and then that all or nothing mentality creeps in and you give up and you like throw out the whole week. I have taken into more setting monthly goals or weekly goals. So goals like I want to do 500 push-ups this month and I track them in my app. And the goal is just get 500. Some days I'll do 10 push-ups, some day I'll do 50 push-ups, but the goal is that by the end of the month I do 500 push-ups. So even if I have a bad day, I can still make it up another day and I don't feel rushed. I have a whole month to get it done. Hopefully you don't procrastinate and then have to do 100 push-ups on the last day. The other thing too is really looking at what is realistic for you. Don't set, like, if you're not used to going to bed until 2 o'clock in the morning, setting a 10 p.m. bedtime is going to be a big jump for you. Start with baby steps and just be very realistic in what you think you can handle. So we've given some ideas, maybe reading 12 books in 12 months, setting aside 2 date nights a month, getting to bed before 11 p.m. for 30 days. And it can be just like, hey, within this time frame, I want to have at least 30 days that I get to bed before 11 p.m. Journaling 4 times a week. Maybe if you're a shopaholic, you cut it down. I'm only going to take 2 shopping trips or only allow myself 2 Amazon orders a month, whatever that is for you. But try to make them realistic and don't try to time bound them by just a day because days get derailed. I also highly recommend having some kind of weekly habit map that you can track. If you're going to do a daily journaling or a daily step, are you tracking that each day? If you are doing the 500 push-ups this month, how are you going to track those push-ups? Are you going to put little like tallies on a whiteboard somewhere? Do you have a piece of paper? Do you have an app that you can track that in? Make sure you're actually tracking it so that it's a little bit easier so that that's that mile marker, and give yourself some rewards. As you go throughout the year, you need to make sure you have first that strong foundation, small steps, simple, quick wins. So if it is like a weekly goal, I want to walk 6 miles this week. One day you might walk 3 miles. The next day you might not walk at all. Then you walk two, then you walk one. There's your 6 miles in a week. It doesn't feel overwhelming. And it's a quick win. Celebrate that win. Another thing, it is easier sometimes to add something into your day than it is to remove. If I tell you right now, don't think of a white elephant, you all just thought of it. So if you say to yourself, I'm not going to eat chocolate, guess what you're going to obsess over now? Chocolate. So instead, think about, I'm going to add a serving of vegetables to my dinner. I'm going to add a serving of fruit to my breakfast. I'm going to add doing a flight of stairs. I'm going to take the stairs instead of the elevator. I'm going to add, something into my day, even if it's a 5 minutes of reading a story to my kids at night. Sometimes it's easier to add a small action or item into your day than it is to try to eliminate something that's already a strong habit. Reversing habits can be very difficult and can cause a lot of friction and stress. So rather than thinking about eliminating things, think about what you can add in. And as you add in those healthy things, it starts to naturally push out the unhealthy habits. As you add more healthy fruits and vegetables into your day, you might find that those sugar cravings aren't as strong at night, and it will naturally start to remove some of the things in your diet. You know, Adding more family time might eliminate some of that doom scrolling you're doing at night. As you add in certain habits, you don't have to focus so hard on the elimination that causes the stress. Always be mindful of learning. Keep an open mindset. Find new ways to learn, whether it's audiobooks, talking to other people, getting coaching. Find ways to explore new ways of doing things. If you've tried something 100 times and it's not working, go talk to somebody, ask them how they're doing it. Don't be afraid to discuss those failures, what worked and what hasn't worked, and think about it in new ways. Always grow with confidence. You want to build a stable routine. We talked about that basal ganglia. You have certain habits that you can build in every day. You brush your teeth every day. Hopefully, you shower every day. There are certain things you can do every day, just little things add into your routine to build up that confidence. Don't feel like you have to make one big dramatic shift right now. Start with one or two simple things and then build on it so that you can also build your confidence throughout the year. And then spend time in reflection. I cannot emphasize it enough, the need to celebrate your wins. At night, when you are laying in bed and you're sitting there and you're going, I didn't do this and I didn't do that and I didn't send that email. Did I forget to start the dishwasher? Instead of doing that, grab a piece of paper and a pen and start writing down all the things you did do today, like kept kids alive, fed myself. Maybe I changed a little laundry. I did send that email. Write down the things you actually did accomplish, because I will tell you, you are not giving yourself enough credit for the things you have accomplished each day. So it's important to reflect on the things you did accomplish and celebrate those wins. So track it. If you have a big goal at the end of the year or halfway through the year to run a marathon, start setting those little mile markers, track that progress, and celebrate those wins and have an affirmation ready to go. Negative thoughts are going to creep in. The thoughts of, I'm not good enough, I'm a failure, maybe this isn't meant for me, those little things are going to creep in. And it's going to happen quick. The first challenge you experience, most people give up on resolutions by February. Those negative mind thoughts have crept in. Have an affirmation ready to go. It could be something from scriptural text. It could be something you've heard before. It might just be something you go back to that you already kind of tell yourself, but have a positive affirmation ready to go. Something like, I grow consistently. Rest is part of the progress. I move at my own pace. Whatever that is, find an affirmation that resonates with you so that whenever that thought of I'm not good enough starts to creep in, you can squash it with a more positive thought. And then I encourage you to share your intentions. Post what you want to do. If you want, put it in the chat now. What is a goal you're going to set? What is a value you're going to carry with you through 2026? Share it with others, inspire others. Something that you value might actually spark somebody else to go, oh yeah, I want to focus on that too. Or I'm going to set a similar goal, or I never thought of setting that goal. And you can start to build a community, a sense of belonging, people with like-minded goals and values as you. And that's going to be huge. That connection and having that community is really going to help carry you through this year. You're welcome to tag us. We are recording this session. I'm going to have the replay available for you. An email will go out later today with the replay, the link. Share this with friends and family. Maybe you guys can set some goals together. And as just a thank you for your time today and as a free gift, we actually made a whole goal setting workbook. So if you want to get started on how do I set goals and not resolutions, how do I actually set those quick wins? How do I squash those mindset traps that I might fall into or be prepared for those negative thoughts that creep in? You can download this free goal setting guide, or you're welcome to set up a free consult call. I have both of those hyperlinks up here on the screen. And again, I want to be mindful of your time. And I see there's a couple things in the chat, so I will check those now. Thank you all so much for joining me. Again, you can schedule a consult call if there's something you wanted to discuss, but you didn't want to discuss it openly here. That's a free 15-minute call with me. I'm happy to discuss whatever goals you're looking to set and help you break that down. We also have the free goal setting guide and the assessment. So thank you again so much, and I hope you all have a great day.